Connecting Knowify to your QuickBooks Online account can help with the process of getting transactions into your QuickBooks without having to duplicate any entries. When initially connecting Knowify to QuickBooks, a lot of data from the account will automatically be pulled in. Things like your clients, vendors, products and services, and your chart of accounts will automatically show up in Knowify without any additional action needed. Once the connection is live, a lot of this information will bidirectionally sync to update both platforms at the same time. We'll start in our clients catalog. If a new client is added to Knowify, it can automatically be added to our clients list in QuickBooks. I simply need to enter the information regarding the client in my Knowify account. When I click Submit, this will automatically create a corresponding client in QuickBooks. In my QuickBooks account, if I go to the customer database, I can type in that customer's name and see that they automatically showed up here. Similarly, if I add a new client or edit a client in my QuickBooks account, that will come back to Knowify. So if I edit this client and I enter, in this case, a new address for them, saving this information in QuickBooks will update the client record in our Knowify account when we sync. We'll search for the client in our Knowify account, edit to view the details, and see the updated information on file. The same works with vendors. If I go to my vendor database and I add a new vendor, submitting this in Knowify will automatically create a new vendor in my QuickBooks database. We'll go to our QuickBooks account, to our list of vendors, and we'll see them on record here. Just like with clients, I can edit the vendor in QuickBooks or in Knowify and have it sync to the other software. Now going to review in Knowify, we'll trigger a sync again. When we pull up the vendor's details, we'll see that the contact information has been updated based off of what we did in our QuickBooks account. Jobs in Knowify can also sync into QuickBooks and create corresponding projects for tracking on the QuickBooks side. If I add a new job, I'll have the ability to select the client from our database in Knowify, which is synced with QuickBooks. I can fill out any other relevant information about the job, and when it's saved, it'll automatically generate a new project in my QuickBooks account. I'll have the option of viewing this project in QuickBooks from the Jobs Summary page in Knowify by clicking the check mark and then View in QuickBooks. This will automatically open up my QuickBooks account to the corresponding project that was created by Knowify. Once the project is created, any transactions created against the project will also sync into our QuickBooks account. And so, if I were to create, for this example, a purchase, and we'll call it a cash expense, and we can select who the vendor was from the database that's in Knowify and synced with QuickBooks. I can enter in the details of the purchase, submit this so it's job costed in Knowify, and it'll automatically send to QuickBooks, and I'll have the ability to view it using that same checkmark icon on this specific purchase or expense. Aside from purchases, bills can also be synced into QuickBooks automatically when logged in Knowify. If we choose to add a new bill, we can select the vendor, enter in any necessary information regarding this specific bill that we received, and then the details of what job it was for, a description of the items if necessary, and when we submit this bill in our Knowify account, it'll automatically generate a bill in our QuickBooks account as well. Payments are also integrated with QuickBooks. So if we record that we've paid this bill in our Knowify account, that will automatically push a payment to the bill in QuickBooks. This includes partial payments as well. Payments will have their own sync checkmark, so we can view the payment in our QuickBooks account. And payments are bidirectional, so if I record a new payment in QuickBooks, that will sync back to the corresponding bill in our Knowify account. Back in Knowify, we can wait for a sync, or we can trigger a sync with the button at the top of the screen, and I can open up this vendor bill to show that it's been paid and it's now closed. I also can see the two payments, one created by Knowify and one that's pulled in from QuickBooks. Invoices generated for jobs in our Knowify account will also sync into our QuickBooks. If I open up my contract and select Invoice Now, we'll be able to enter the amount of this contract that we would like to invoice, then finalize the invoice and send it to our QuickBooks account. We'll have the link to be able to view this invoice directly in our QuickBooks account, and payments will also be bidirectional like they were with bills. So if I were to mark payment as received in my QuickBooks account, whether it's a full payment or a partial payment, this will sync back into my Knowify account and show the updated balance of the invoice. And if I record the payment in Knowify, just like earlier, it'll log that payment into QuickBooks and close out the invoice there as well. Time tracked in Knowify can also be synced to QuickBooks. If we add a new time entry, we can select which employee we're entering time for and which job it's for. And the employees will also have the ability to enter their own time if necessary. It will go in for review, and when the time entry is approved, it'll sync to the weekly timesheet for our QuickBooks account for that specific employee. We'll open up QuickBooks, go to Time, and look at Time Entries, and I can open up this employee raised timesheet to see the 2 hours logged against this job on the specific day. And if I open up that project in my QuickBooks account, I'll be able to see the income from the invoice we created, the cost from our expenses and bills, and any time entries that were synced into this job from Knowify. Bills and expenses can also be pulled from QuickBooks into Knowify if necessary. If I add an expense to this project, I can put in any of the necessary information in our QuickBooks account, and when this expense is saved in our QuickBooks account, we can go back to Knowify, run a sync, and Knowify will find that expense from our QuickBooks account and automatically update the cost of the job.